Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TimingResearch.com Analyze Your Trade, episode number 172 for September 7th, 2021. My name is David Kosmeter, and I am the creator of TimingResearch.com. And today we will be discussing your trade ideas. So I put the list together of the requests for today, and we're going to go through as many of those as we can. We are recording this at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and today I have arranged for John Nyaradi to be our guest. And so happy to have him back. And the option professor is here to moderate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him.
Okay, great. And we are going to go over 15 stocks that you guys have put in here so that we can review. And we're going to get into all that, plus a little bit of overview on what's going on with the S&P and some of this stuff, because we got maybe some winds of change blowing here with the talk of tax increases and interest rate changes and all kinds of stuff like that. ECB's got stuff going on. So there's going to be news hitting the wire. Let's start, John, by introducing yourself and a little bit about what's going on at the company.
Thanks, Prof. Appreciate it, David. Always good to be with you. Yeah, so we're called TradingGods.net. And our main thing we're doing, we call retirement day trader. We sell options and buy options with the objective of creating income and growing net worth for people who either want to retire early or who are already retired. Average week, we've got about 10 either vertical credit spreads or iron condors going for credit. And we also do directional trades. Right now we have a QQQ vertical debit, a call that's doing real well. And we're just dipping our toes into futures. I don't know if you've ever done any of that, Jim. It's really interesting. I got these new micro contracts, you know. So
they're a real godsend for people who want to reduce leverage and still play ball.
Yeah. And I'm just doing some back testing on that. I'm doing it with SPX gold, the bonds.
And you can leg into oil. Trades a lot better because obviously you don't have to go in at $50 a point. I think it's $10 a point, and so obviously you can stage into 5 different positions. Most of these people aren't charging any commission anyway. So what the heck, you might as well come up with a plan of, scaling in, scaling out, whatever.
Yeah, I think for a little guy, these micros are great, and we're not day trading. We're doing swing trading overnight, so you got to watch your overall risk. But cool.
Anything that you can get involved in it gives you another way to manage leverage and manage risk. You got to view it as positive.
Yep. And then the last
those are the two things that get you in trouble: the risk and the leverage.
Yeah. And the uncorrelated assets give you like a real diversified portfolio. So I'm excited about that one. Anyway, just a little side note there.
And I don't think that many people know about them, so you'd probably be pulling the code on many people and making them aware of something they didn't know. Yeah. All right. Well, that's what we're doing there, and that's a little bit about yourself. Let's go right into this stuff. I'm not familiar with this thing is so big. It's got 2 B's in front. BBIG. It must be big because they didn't even have enough B's. Vinco Ventures, that's what it's called. And
I start with the backdrop of the SPX, still bullish.
Oh, you want to go with the SPX first? Okay.
I just got it on the chart here if you can see it. Okay, just always try to look at the big picture kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Still positive above all the 3 EMAs we look at. A little bit of a back step today. The DMI oscillator is still positive, and then this polarized fractal efficiency, it's starting to turn down a little, so as you mentioned, and so is the DMI, so maybe a little change in the weather coming up, but for this moment.
Yeah, my monthly is starting to show cracks in the army of the monthly graph, but the longer term stuff obviously is still positive.
Yeah, and this was we mentioned, I think the last time we talked a month or so ago, whenever it was, it's just all about the Fed, right? What's going to, the Jackson Hole meeting was a non-event. They kicked the can. Now the next meeting is coming up in 2 weeks, and that's it.
But I got a little bit of a sell signal here on my monthly when everything pretty much crossed, and the number where they all crossed was right around. Let's see what it was. I got it probably similar to yours, right around this 45.40, 45, 45.37 area. That kind of was a little bit of a sell signal there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so like you say, changing the weather certainly could be in store here, especially in the autumn, and with the Fed and taxes, like you said, all this stuff. Yeah,
Some of the sharp people seem to think that the first 2 weeks here are going to be rough, and then they're going to be a rally in the last half of the because window dressing for Q3 ending and getting ready for some pretty outstanding earnings that they think are coming. So it might be this week and next week with lower volume, people coming back from holiday. Maybe they try to press it a little bit, and then at the end of the month, maybe they come back in.
Yeah. Well, it's like the second New Year now after Labor Day. Everybody, like I said, is back from vacation. Kids are back in school. Things are happening. Fourth quarter is always busy.
Yeah.
So
I just got back from San Francisco, and I
cool.
didn't come back and immediately want to put tons of money right to work as soon as I got back to the desk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
More like, let's see what things look like for a little while.
I give it a day, exactly. So I don't know anything about BBIG either, but certainly it looks pretty volatile here. Definitely on a bullish kind of signal, but tough to trade, obviously. But I would say it's bullish. That would be my verdict. What would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's breaking out. I would imagine it is a biotech or some type. I'm looking that up right now so we can get it. Let's just see.
21% today. That's
yeah. I mean, obviously that's why the guy put it on the list. No, it's it looks Vinco Ventures, and I'm trying to get a little information on them. Comes up a little weird in that says a leader in acquisitions, leveraging new market opportunities. So I guess they might be a buyout firm.
Some kind of
They got a market cap of about $500 million. So it's kind of a smaller company. And I mean,
I could buy,
Yeah, I mean, technically, it definitely is breaking out to the upside. The question is it going to be one of those deals that go back and forth? I'm just, it's kind of a little bit of a hard to get information on Vinco Ventures. But, if you're a technical trader, like you say, that blue line there, is that what kind of moving average is that, or?
That's the 8, I think. 8. I've got the 8, and then the yellow is the 21. And this red one you can just barely see is the 50.
Well, they did 120 million shares today. And on average, this stock has been doing 14 million on a 200-day basis and 35 million on a 50-day basis. So even on a 50-day basis, it did like 3-4 times normal volume today. So obviously they got some news, and they're a company that's losing money. Their EPS is -8. Yeah.
Someone in the chat said it's a short squeeze.
Yeah, I would imagine
must be a
you
Wall
got
Street
a
Bets thing or something.
Yeah, short. It's got short interest of almost 17% of the stock outstanding. So
it's a Zoom. It's one of these AMC meme
so
stocks.
these things can go a lot further, or it could be a one-day Charlie, and the thing could go right back to the 5 area where it came from. So it's a very rough one to give any insight on. It's kind of like if you're in and you were using this 8-day, that might be the kind of leash you want to put on this kind of thing, don't you think?
Yeah, I've done some of these memes, and that's about it. They're
do you kind of find like an 8-day or something and go listen?
It's 8 is solid, and I'm just trying to. Let's move. We can continue on, but I had a site that had the most mentioned Reddit stocks. I'll see if I can find it while we're chatting here. But
sure.
Anyway, we can. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So I don't see it down here. So okay, onward, upward.
But the 16% short interest is is a pretty good amount. So I don't know if one day of 120 million shares gets them out, but that probably got a lot of them out. And then if it's only going up for that reason, then some of these things, like any short covering rally, if they can't find people who want to buy at the higher price, it falls under its own weight because that buy volume is now gone. Right. Because it's not organic buying, it's really buying to offset risk, that kind of thing, But anyway, like I say, your suggestion would be to try to keep it on some kind of a short leash with that blue line.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's about the best you can do. Otherwise, you just, it's a gambling casino and you play the dice until they go 7, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Next one is India. Great demographics. Everybody's saying this is the place to be. This INDA, it's gone from $32 to $50 in the last 52 weeks as far as the low to the high. And, these people are up and coming as far as emerging markets,
Yeah. Yeah. We went green here back at about 45, like $45, up to 49. Solid positive uptrend here all the way. Interesting, with the COVID deal over there, it doesn't seem to be bothering these guys at all, the stock, but,
No, I think people are looking through COVID and
yeah,
saying
right.
they've got a lot of educated people over there. They got a lot of people
Sure.
in general, they got a lot of buying power. And
Yeah.
so if you're buying emerging markets, maybe they feel a little more comfortable in this one than they do China.
Yeah, this would be a solid long-term investment.
Yeah, and where do you see the supports on this stuff?
Well, if you kind of look back here, this little blue triangle is the ATR trailing stops. That would be a real good place at 48.22.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's getting a bit extended. It's about $7 above its 200-day, which is getting to be 20% above your 200-day, which is,
right.
Historically a little bit on the extended side, right?
Yeah, so somewhere 48.22 or down to the 20, 47.25, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, what do we got next? We got Run DMC. What do we got? RUN.
Run, baby, run. Drill, baby, drill. It's run, baby, run, right?
Sunrun Inc. Yeah.
Don't know anything about these guys. Do you?
No, it looks like they're setting up something where if 40 was the low and 49 on the rebound was the high, and now it's pulling back. If it takes out 50, then I think it could be off to the races. But
I'm looking at the weekly. This is all pretty bearish. The daily is, and the weekly as well. It's below all the MAs and below the ATR stop. So I just had a little bit of a try to get going here with the greens here and the DMI sliding back. So I would be relatively bearish about this one.
Yeah, it seems a little bit dead. It's a provider of solar panels and home batteries. So obviously people are thinking this is going to be the thing of the future.
Mhm.
I've been, and as far as the electric batteries, I've been kind of looking at the Panasonic stock, which has a symbol of, why don't we look at this real quick, since this seems like this is what they're wanting. A little bit of exposure there. How about PCRFY? PCRFY. This one might have a little bit better bounce in its step.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to play ball in this area, this is the one I'd be looking at.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call, I'd say. Just had the crossover on the averages. Yeah, that looks solid. Panasonic, man, these guys have been around forever.
Say they've been around since the turntable.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go to the next guy, which is Energy, which is something that I was so hopeful for, but every time I think about taking my checkbook out, like when I went to 49 and change last week, it goes into the dumper. So I'm still monitoring this, but I do believe, according to Goldman Sachs, they're looking for $80 crude, possibly in Q4. Q3 is here now, almost. Actually, Q3 is ending. So if they're looking for Q4, what are they saying? In the next 90 days, we're going to jump to 80 on crude. If that's going to be the case, XLE is not going to stay in the 40s. But it doesn't seem like it can get above 50. So my feeling is you get above 50, give me a call.
Yeah, 50 is the upper Bollinger Band there, and it's also those pink triangles, the ATR stop. So that's about right. And I was just trying to look at the find the futures here. So I was, like I mentioned, I was doing these futures, and then so CL would be just the oil part of it.
Yeah, that would be crude. Yeah.
And
is there any evidence that crude has a chance of going to 80 in the next 90 days?
It's on the buy signal. The big one is at 68.36, down a little, but it's on the buy. Yeah, and Yeah, I think I would be bullish on oil.
Yeah. I mean, if you get above 70 in crude and you get above 50 on XLE, that could be 2 green lights.
Yeah, let me put in the CL here, just the futures to compare. So
Yeah. Wouldn't you like to see it trading above 70 again, 71?
yeah, that right here would be the stop.
And if it gets above that, then 80 makes
Yeah.
more sense than at 68, huh?
Yeah. Interesting. Cool.
Yeah. I was just in California. They're at 519 on top grade gasoline. So.
Yeah, I was down there last week as well, or the week before. Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. But anyway, it's really crazy because, I never saw any oil wells back east. And for whatever reason, back east has lower oil than we have out here. So
taxes in California, maybe, huh?
I guess it must be. All right. And of course, we use it a lot more because it's a spread out place,
Yep.
Okay, next one up on the hill here is Bank of America, which everybody swears by longer term. What do you swear in the short run, though?
Was it BAC?
Yeah, BAC.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, it might have had a pullback low and turning up from here. What do you think? It's up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it came down, coming back up. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say
you would
bullish.
say that this recent drop. What was the recent low here on the drop? About 41.
Yeah.
40,
Yeah,
40,
I
40,
would
50.
say this is turning bullish, definitely.
Yeah. And where was the recent pullbacks here in the last month?
And pull up a broader picture here, my friend. Just saying, man, I was waiting. Yeah, so we had
Yeah, it looks like
so
40. You
down
don't
here
want this
near
thing
the-
under
near the
40 bucks.
50. Yeah, right
Yeah.
on 50. The 50-day was right here, the red one, 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not
Okay,
much
yeah.
rope between here and there. From that standpoint, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah, and everything's turning up. DMI side, I think it's a buyish.
Yeah. If yields rally a little bit, of course, that opens up the profit window for these banks. So if yields will, they're starting to creep up 137 on the 10-year, you go up to 145 or 150. It's not going to be Mardi Gras, but it's a lot better than 1.12 it was at a little while ago, So a little higher rate. And hey, people have got a lot of things to borrow against now. Their houses have gone up. They could borrow against that. They got, ability to pay off credit cards.
Yep.
So, your default risk is looking pretty good for if you're a bank. So, without defaults, you're probably pretty profitable.
Okay.
And then again, like I say, consumer loans, once they run through their savings here, they're going to want more money because that's what consumers do. They spend their money. And they have a nice house appreciation of 25% of which to tag.
Yep.
So, yeah, the bank's probably a reasonable bet. SPRT.
SPRT support.
These guys do technical support for businesses and consumers, headquartered in Delaware.
Yeah. Cool.
Their services are performed on Windows and Mac and Android, connecting smart devices.
This must have been some kind of a squeeze in here up to 60 and then back down to 20. Those are tough to always play, but
yeah, that's what happens when the short covering ends, right?
Yeah. So we went long at way back in here somewhere, but we wouldn't have caught that whole big move. So we would have been long, say, from back at 4 or 5, so you'd still be okay at 19, but you never can catch these big ones. So that's like almost impossible.
Yeah, this is a rough racket from the standpoint of, is it going to make some kind of a run back towards the high point that it created, or is this a dead dog that's just going back to where it belonged?
Right. Yeah, even conservatively, we would have gotten in here when this sort of about.
They're headquartered in Sunnyvale, though. They're they're in the right neighborhood.
Yeah, 4.8 up to 19, still be a 4 time gain.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
But you would say somewhere around what's that yellow line? Yeah,
it's a gambler stock. The yellow is a 20, so it looks like it's bouncing off that. So I think it can go higher.
Well, this next one is just missing an M, and then everyone would know it. But TRUP. Head Insurance. Hey, where's Ace Ventura? If I owned this company, I'd get Jim
TRUP.
Carrey to do an ad for me, pet insurance, you know?
That's bearish. It looks pretty bearish to me. What is this? Trooper? What do these guys do?
They're pet insurance.
Pet insurance.
Yeah. That's why I think Ace
pretty
Ventura
bearish.
would be a good one for
They're
him.
pretty bearish. It's weekly bearish and daily bearish. So
Yeah, what looks like it looks like it's actually trying to accelerate to the downside a little bit almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And this,
So-
this little fractal energy thing I use. So when this thing goes below zero, that's like you just said, that's even stronger. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one, D-Dog.
D-Dog.
That's Data Dog. And they are, it's funny, we went from pet insurance right into Data Dog, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Nothing to do, but they're both dog. Yeah, that dog is bullish. Been bullish for a while here since back around 106. It's at 137. Yeah, it's really been bullish back. Yeah, before that. Yeah.
Well, you know, they have cloud scale applications. As soon as you hear the word cloud, everybody wants a piece of it.
Bullish on the weekly. Yeah, this is looking strong every way around.
This one was a product of the interest rates coming back down, because when the yields
Mhm.
came back down, that means future earnings do not have to be discounted at high levels.
Right.
And I'm sure this is a very high PE stock. So it really helps companies like this where they don't have to discount their long-term earnings because rates are rising.
Yep. That's what I like about these shows so much. You hear about these things you never heard of. I've never heard of Data Dog.
Oh, no, yeah, I had heard about them.
Yeah.
But as you can see, they've had a mixed history. And obviously in the last few months, they've had a great history. But looking back in 19 and 20 and into 21, 120 and 80 seems to have been the range. And so, you know, if you got on the wrong side of that range, you had some headaches, you know. What about, is here looking like it's extended? Like, where's the RSI? Is it really high or what's that thing on the bottom? Polarized. Why don't we explain these things?
Fractal. So yeah, so this is a pretty cool thing. So basically, it's sort of the trendiness of what's going on. So if it's coming off below zero and then crosses zero, that's a bullish signal.
Okay.
And you can see this happened at about 106. And then it goes up. It's a little bit like stochastics. You could think of it that way. And then if it starts coming back down below this 50 point, that would be, you know, probably time to take a little profit and then turn and coming back up. So overall, very bullish with this thing. It's measuring the energy of this thing. So it's still bullish.
How about the DMI oscillator? Can you explain that one a little bit?
Yeah, this is a Wells Wilders thing. You know, he's a genius guy. He's way over my head, but it's an oscillator that it's buy and sell, and it's real simple. It's a lot like MACD, but I think a little more accurate. And so when it's green, it's good. And when it's red, it's not.
I got you.
Very simple to follow.
That's pretty easy to follow.
No, really, yeah. You know, I really think the key to this technical stuff is, you know, 10-year-olds got to be able to understand. If I can't explain it, or if you can't explain it in like 3 minutes, it's too complicated. You know?
Yeah, you're probably exactly right there. All right, here we have another energy company, Sonova Energy International. And
What's the symbol on that one, Jim?
Sonova.
So Nova, N-O-V-A.
I think they're into green energy here because they're issuing green bonds.
Yes, this is one of those ones. It's just chopping here and up and down and the weekly. So what I always do is I think it's just smart. You use multiple time frames. So it gives you a little better edge. So this whole thing, I mean, the weekly has been choppy. Daily has been choppy since back here in about February. Really not much opportunity here.
Not much going on.
No, I tell you, this would be real tough to trade. You know, it just keeps oscillating around these DMAs here.
Well, next one up is DocuSign.
Be a good iron condor. You know, it's a nice.
Yeah,
sideways.
I mean, it seems like it's in a very defined area. So again, yeah, You
Yeah.
put the thing on top at 40 and the bottom at
Yeah.
33 there, and then pretty much let time go by has been the way to go.
Yeah, be a solid iron condor for sure. DocuSign. All
Yeah,
right.
DocuSign. Some sharp people have put this on the Alumni Association, and today it looks like it was a very good idea to do that.
Mm.
I got some sell ideas from different people in the last couple of weeks. So obviously, people have they came out with their earnings, and I think they were pretty good, but their forward look wasn't that great, or something like that.
Mm.
And some of these companies are priced so high, if they even burp, they're going to go down.
Generally speaking, weekly and daily bullish. If you are have a strong stomach, this would be a good long-term buy, I think. But like you say, it could be a rocky road. And you see how it's all clustered up here on the EMAs. It's going to be figuring out which way it wants to go next, but generally bullish.
Yeah, I mean, in the 1-year graph, it does look like it's trying to point down right now. And it
Mhm.
looks like if it took out 280, it would be real problematic. Huh?
Right.
But maybe it'll hold 280. But it's got doesn't it have a little bit of a distribution look to it? Because back in July, it peaked at around 310, and then it peaked at 306. And then it just recently peaked at about 310. So you have a whole bunch of action peaky looking at around 310. And now it seems like it's accelerating a bit to the downside. So again, some analysts definitely have said, let's stand aside on this for the time being. And you can see why, probably, huh?
I'm just looking over here. I don't know if you can see this watch list, all the big techs for.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty red day on big tech in general.
Looks like there was some red letters up there today. Huh?
Yeah, across the board almost, except for the old standards here.
Yeah. That's how they probably will keep the indexes from dropping too far. Is if you keep about 5 stocks fairly stable,
right,
you can keep the indexes fairly stable. As
well,
long as
that's the
Facebook,
thing,
Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, as long as those companies are fairly stable, you're not going to get a huge drop in the indexes probably.
Exactly. Yeah, the big tech drives, like the Qs are up 0.14 today, just even in spite of all that red on the left side there.
Yeah, because I was a little surprised that all those tech firms were actually in the red when the NASDAQ had a good day. And that's another example of the weighting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. The FANGs plus Microsoft and Tesla.
Well, I didn't know this, but somebody told me that basically Foot Locker is a front man for Nike.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, apparently Nike pretty much says jump, and Foot Locker says how high is what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me because obviously they're such a big brand, huh?
We were just talking about Tesla, they had a big pop today. So yeah, the same old ones are driving at the big tech,
Yeah. Tesla's got above that 708, and that was a pretty good mark. So right now, as long as it's above 700, it's probably okay, right?
Yep. I mean, really, if you didn't have a lot of time to do this, you could just probably focus on big tech and do fine, for both options and this directional.
Yeah, a lot of people think you just buy QQQ and go to bed.
That's kind of what I've been doing. It's a lot easier, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, because there's 9 million moving parts out there, and if you can find one, like people say, don't put all your eggs in one basket is a theory, and then put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket closely is a very other theory.
Yeah. So QQQ from 370 just a few days ago.
Yeah.
That's hard to beat. I mean, and if you're short on time or just want to sort of not set and forget, but when you don't have to manage all the time, this is a great way to go. I've been enjoying this a lot.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the spreads we do, you have to manage those things, as you know.
Yeah.
And this thing is just like, well, put it out. You got to watch it, of course, and be careful, but you don't have to manage them that actively.
Right. Anytime you're the options, you're dealing in price and time. So obviously you're going to have to keep some eye on it because time's not standing still, and neither is price. Yeah.
That's for sure. You were looking at FL, I think. I didn't.
Yeah, FL. Here we go.
Yeah, it got hammered. I don't know what happened today. I didn't like it. Today was not a good day for those guys.
Yeah, no, it was a bad day for these guys. 6.5%. I think maybe they're concerned about the consumer pulling his pocket in, because Southwest was announcing a lot of cancellations.
Yeah. This went red on the weekly sometime back, July 5th. So that this is not really a surprise. Yeah, that's why these multiple time frames.
What's Nike look like? NKE?
Yeah.
Because if that's going down, it might make sense why this one would be going down.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's down on the daily, and the weekly has been up, but it's turning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, if your underlying brand is going down, it probably the distributor of that brand probably doesn't look so good. There was one I was looking at, Starbucks. What's that look like? I thought it was
SBUX.
SBUX. I thought it was okay, 113, 114, and it popped, but then it started to fade. Is it looking like it's getting some boat legs, or is it just
it's like a little just circulating around here? It's still bullish generally, but not as bullish as it was, like you said.
it's got wood to chop, like 120
Yep,
wood,
yep.
120 wood, right?
Yep, exactly. Oops, sorry, that tangled up there. Yeah, I would say, yeah, right. You always call it just right. 119. Yep.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to get on a train that's already broke down the wall and is on its way than to stay on it when it's sputtering back and forth sometimes.
Yep.
You know, you don't make as much as you would if you were a hero and got in on the first, when the first song was on, but you can still have a good time after it's been on for a while.
Yeah, 119 would be the breakout number there.
Well, there's another reason why the indexes are doing pretty good today, because Netflix is up 16.
FLX. I've had good luck with Netflix. I like Netflix.
Yeah, anything around 500 looks like a gimme.
Yeah, I watch them all the time. They've got a great new documentary. I don't know if you ever watched Netflix documentaries. They've had so many good ones. They had The Final Flight, which was about the Challenger, and then they have it was about the Chicago Bulls, The Last Dance. You know, that famous
I saw that one.
That was cool. And they just came out with one I just started watching with my wife. It's called The Turning Point. It's about 9/11. Brutally tough, brutally hard, but really, really good.
Yeah, well done, huh?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so this chart looks very good right
away,
now.
Far and away. Yeah, it looks great.
It's almost accelerating to the upside. And in the past year, it's only up 19%, so it has lagged the overall market a bit. Some of these laggards like Amazon and this, they've been kind of saying is going to catch up.
You got to think they would, you know.
What's Amazon look like, AMZN? Could it play a mean game of catch up?
Yeah, it had this huge, remember this, I think this is back around the earnings. Remember the boot, this is the earnings are back here. And it took that big dive, and then now it's coming back around. Yeah.
This next one is
you ever try to trade earnings on options? I have a couple of times. It seems like it's sort of a hit and miss for me, but
trading earnings reports.
Yeah, ahead of earnings reports.
Yeah, no, they can be very good. I mean, you know, we've seen a lot of activity.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, we have got what's it called? Resolution Hardware or something like that. RH. Wednesday, you got Amgen, AMGN. You want to take a look at those stocks on the earnings that are coming up? Why the heck not, right? RH. Restoration Hardware. I knew it was something like that.
So it's a little bit bearish here all of a sudden.
And what about Amgen, AMG, AMNG? I thought it was AMGN. It's AMGN. Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's pretty reddish.
So you really want that oscillator to be green if you're going to be bullish, huh?
Yep. Yeah, and the weekly too. And I always try to match them up. You know, if they're both going the same direction, they got a much better chance. So
all right. What about HVT? Is Haverty Furniture? That's coming up Wednesday.
HVT.
And we got two on Friday.
Yeah. What was it? I'm sorry, I missed that one, Jim.
HVT.
HVT.
Harry, Victor, Tommy.
There we go. Yeah. So yeah, it turned south here a little bit ago, and the weekly. So it's been south on the weekly and on the daily as well. So It started trying to edge up here daily, so that's I would.
How
wait
about
around.
how about a supermarket company, Kroger, KR?
Yeah, that's bullish. People got to eat, right?
Yeah. That one looks good. And I think this one will
Yeah.
look good too. Evercore, EVR.
Yep, it's about the same.
So
Yeah,
looks like Friday would be the day to fool around, huh?
Yep. Yep, it's good on the weekly too. Have you ever tried that around earnings, the volatility crush, where it's supposed to, the volatility is supposed to go up,
Yeah, I
option prices
haven't,
expand
like I
going
said, they're
into
always,
earnings
yeah,
and
they're
then go
always
down.
saying volume is 3 times normal going into this or
Yeah.
that. And,
Yeah. I haven't tried to do much of that.
I'm sure there's merit to it, but I'm
Yeah,
not.
it sounds interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. This Transcontinental Realty, TCI.
Yeah, looking bearish on this side of things here. And weekly is bullish. So weekly's been bullish since May. And this just turned down here.
Looks a little bit rolly.
Just a little rolly. I would say
It
right
breaks
now,
underneath what, about 33, it'd be trouble.
33 is trouble, and then still bullish if it can get past out of its own way, kind of here on the MAs, it would be bullish.
I tell you, there's quite a group we've got here today. ATH, Athene Holdings,
Solid looking there. Just had all
located
these
in Bermuda. Maybe you can
all
go
these
visit them. And
crossovers going up. It's bullish on the ATR. Just went bullish. And the weekly, what do these guys do? Any idea?
They're a holding company, and so let's see what a holding.
Strong on the weekly, so this is a solid buy.
Yeah. Some of these companies hard to get a lot of information on right away. Yeah, anyway, technically it looks like a good one, right?
Oh yeah, real strong.
Yeah.
And it's got it's got room there.
Let's just see here. BM. Let's learn a little bit more about it for the people who are listening who do not know much about it. It says retirement services, and they're an annuity provider. That makes sense. That's why they'd be in Bermuda. And they looks like they do insurance products. Protecting savings in turbulent times, lifetime income for secure retirement. So those are annuities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they're in that industry. Insurance and financial services and annuities and stuff like that.
It's bullish all around. So,
well, this last one is the ARC funds. And the ARC fund here is ARKW. But why don't we look at a bunch of ARC funds to see if
this is the next generation one. So this would be bullish on the daily. Look at the weekly here real quick. Negative on the weekly. So it's starting to turn around, maybe, Got weak.
Again, this is all about future earnings discounting. Yeah. So if the rates are not going very much higher, this thing could probably survive and endure. If we were to see 2% or better on the 10-year, that could be a totally different story. This is the next generation Internet of Things type of thing.
Then this thing,
Yeah, so they've got this going. I like ARKG. That I think is your health genomic revolution.
Yeah,
that's another one that we're trying to see if it'll get going.
Yeah.
Their main one. What do you think about this? If it gets above 86 and 90,
88. Yeah.
And then they've got an ARKF for your financial fintech.
think I read the other day they're opening a new one called something about transparency or something. Arc transparency. I don't know what that is. Fintech financial. Yeah, so it's running with the banks. Looks strong.
Yeah, this looks good. And then they've got ARKK, which is their general disruptor group.
Yeah, it had a turn. Of course, it was kind of weak all the way here for several months.
Yeah.
Now it's turning up. So,
But that 120 area seems to be like where you
Yep.
definitely, you don't want to see a 119, 118 print anymore.
Right.
They
No.
goofed around with you a little bit because they got it above here
Yeah.
in the 120s, and then they brought it down underneath 115 to get everybody out, and now they got everybody going back in. So
Yeah.
you get into a choppy thing like this, you can go through a lot of money if you're buying on the highs and selling at the lows.
Yeah. She makes a lot of headlines, and Michael Burry, and she had a little tete-a-tete on Twitter a few weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that. He disclosed in his filing that he was short
Yeah.
one of these. I don't know.
Although I
which
don't
one
think he's
it
made
is.
much money on him if he's done it
No,
recently.
no, I don't think it's going in his
Yeah.
direction at the moment.
His problem is that, you know, he's looking at it as just the financial structure now. And obviously from a right now point of view, it's very, very overvalued.
Mhm.
But the people that get into these things, you know, maybe they're the ones who plan on not selling it for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I look far enough out. Yep.
And therefore it's hard to get them down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I say, the reason he did so good on the real estate stuff is there was leverage involved and people defaulting on loans.
Mhm.
That's not what you have here generally.
Right.
What he has here is an overvaluation based on current earnings and current situation,
Mhm.
you know, more like a .com thing. But these people do have businesses that are definitely viewed as futuristically, you know, good looking, you know.
Right. That's the $1 million, $64 million question, right? Is it a bubble or not? You know?
Yeah.
And
Well, I was looking at something in Barron's that made me definitely feel like what's the most probable outcome, and that is they showed the difference between the 10-year note and the S&P valuation on the PE ratio, and it's extremely wide now. And the chart they had in Barron's this week was going back into the 90s, maybe even into the 80s. And so on a historical basis, that width between the 10-year note and the valuation had not been pretty much wider ever. So if we were to see the 10-year go up just a little bit, these valuations may come back down. And of course, a tax hike or a variant that closes us down again would clearly make those things probably close very quickly.
Yeah. There's so many variables. And then, of course, there always are variables, right? But this is a little different. I mean, nobody's ever invested in a pandemic before.
No.
And
but they've invested in different things, and valuation, you know, does come to the forefront at some point. And so we are at high valuations, but if the rates are going to stay low, they could maybe stay high for a while.
Right.
But
brings us back around to Mr. Powell and his group, you know.
Two other things, you know, inflation.
Mhm.
Because this guy at Citigroup was saying with inflation where it is now, PE ratio should be about 18, which would take us 18 times $200 of earnings, ballpark figure. You're at 3,800 on the S&P. So the corrections could come. I mean, China just went down a whole bunch and their companies are still making a ton of money. So how do you explain a market like Alibaba going from 320 down to 160 if they're making a ton of money? And the answer is the valuation is compressed because of risks have come into the market. So they're not willing to pay $25 or 25 PE. They're only willing to pay whatever. And if the PE ratio comes in, even with good numbers, you could still get a compression in price. So that's really, I think, you know, people don't really, really get that, you know, they think there has to be a catastrophe to bring the price down. They think there has to be a recession, and it could be as simple as valuation compression, you know?
And then the old reversion to mean. I mean, I've always been a believer in that. Those rules, I don't think have been repealed. So.
But like I say, you know, there's no evidence of that right now.
No.
You know? Well, you have a lot of different tactics that you work with. And so I don't think this is a bad time for you to kind of give us some idea on, you know, how you're approaching
Yeah.
things, maybe some sample trade ideas or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So I think that the key to success with options is volatility, and most people don't understand that. And I didn't understand it for a long time, but you have to start there. So if there's a relatively low volatility instrument you're looking at, that's a good time to buy it. And if it's a higher volatility instrument, it's a good time to sell it. And if you can get that part right, you give yourself an enormous edge. And I think most people just kind of disregard that or don't get it. There's a lot of good scanners around to do that. Bar charts and Market Chameleon that are even free. So I think that's where you got to start with understanding volatility, and then selling high priced options that are overpriced. And so you have two edges when you're a seller. A, you find one that's overpriced, and then B, what you mentioned earlier, the time decay, the theta. It's a decaying asset. It's an ice cube melting. And so you do those two things right away, you have a built-in edge over the seller. And if you do a low delta, then you're really selling lottery tickets.
Yeah.
And so for us, that's good. We'll sell those all day.
Right.
And then on the buying side, just do the opposite. We buy vertical debit spreads in the money on the long one, reduce your risk, and then watch the trends. As mentioned, the Qs. We've been having great fortune with that one. And I was doing FANGs and this and that, trying to get the single stocks, and the Qs are just a lot easier and really more stable. I think you reduce your risk just by doing that.
Yeah. And like I say, it's then you're tied to some of the biggest names in the world.
Yeah. And then these futures, as I mentioned earlier. So let's look at.
Yeah, why don't you go over some of those micros
Yeah,
that you
let me
want
see
to
what I
talk
find
about?
for these micros. See if I can do
Explain what the micro is. I'll do the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Because I think for a retail guy, this is like a whole new world. So because before in futures, it was always the margin, the leverage, it just kill you. But so this is a micro E-mini. So each point on here is worth $5. So if you went long back here at 44.62, and now you're up at 45.50, so about 90 points or $450 since August 23rd. That's a good move. And the same indicators work on all of these. So in the old days, I mean, what's a big I don't know what the margin is on a big S&P was like 50,000 or something. This one is about 1,800. So a little guy can get into this easily and be very comfortable. And then another one is we talked about the crude oil, and this one just started. It's relatively brand new. Yeah. So it just started right here, just in July. This mini crude oil. Same idea. You just get a smaller exposure to the big contract, and crude oil has been in a bearish configuration. But you won't see much on the weekly here because it just started.
So on the crude, we have the big contract is $1,000 a dollar, and then do they have a mini for $500 a dollar?
Yep.
And then the micro would be what, 200?
Yeah, they're all 1/10 down. So.
Oh, 1/10. Okay.
Yeah, so that's cool and I've tried day trading these things, and it's tough. I have not had any luck using an hour chart, 30-minute chart, whatever.
Yeah, they're spastic on a real short-term basis, right? Yeah.
I'm having really good luck though with these dailies, and what you got to watch for there is not to have too much risk, because let's say oil takes a big dump, then you're going to have to, you can lose more than your margin. Of course, that's the downside. No perfect trade, right?
No.
And then MGC is the mini gold, micro gold.
And the gold gave it up here today, but it hasn't really turned negative though, huh?
No, I think I'm bullish on gold.
Yeah. What is that actually, on GD? That's on the price of gold?
Yeah.
And where did it close today, the price of gold?
17.95. It's down 2%.
Okay. Yeah, I have a 1-year moving average at about 18.15, and I really want it to stay above there before I get real comfortable. And every time it gets above there, it doesn't seem to hold its water that well. So I'm trying to be patient, kind of like with oil. I think oil and China and the gold are all potentially fantastic things looking forward, but it's still the show me state a little bit as far as, let me see a little more sustained strength,
Yeah. And I think
silver as well, silver.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a good hedge. It gives you some uncorrelated assets,
Yeah.
bonds and gold, particularly, and so I think I'm excited about. Right now, I'm not doing it public. I'm just testing it myself. But the back testing look good. I'm trading with real money now, and these things look real solid for retail investors.
Any other commodities like soybean, sugar, coffee, any of that kind of stuff?
No, I haven't got into those yet, Jim, but that would be something further down the road. The CBOE, these guys are smart. The futures guys, they know that if they can create a product, people, if you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
They're smart. And
well, plus some of the products have gotten very expensive. That's why the micro on the S&P makes so much sense, because we're not at 2000 anymore.
Right.
And at gold, I mean, come on, gold is still, 3 times 500,
Yeah.
3-4 times 500. Yeah.
And the cool thing about this is, of course, you can be short if things turn south. You can take short positions. That's awesome. I don't know about other places. TD Ameritrade, you only need a $1,500 account if it's a brokerage account, and if it's an IRA, you can do these with 25,000 as a minimum account balance. A little bigger for those, but to be able to put futures inside an IRA, that's pretty. You never be able to do that in the old days, so that's cool.
Do they have options on the micros?
They do, but
probably not liquid.
Yeah, I haven't looked at those yet, Jim. I wouldn't expect them to be too liquid. No. They're also new, Maybe the NES would be. But something for people to think about and look at. It's just another weapon,
How about that dollar index? Anything to do there?
What's the symbol on that one?
I think it's on the stock, it's DXY. Because it started to slip. It was in the 92 area, and it was trying to get to 92, 93, 94. It looks like it's kind of sliding. DXY is a US dollar index. DXY, no?
There's also UUP.
Right there.
There it is. Yeah, so it's sliding. I mean, it just turned here.
Yeah. And and on Thursday is going to be a big day. If the ECB says something about tapering, that euro probably takes off, and it might hurt the dollar. So Thursday's a big day, because ECB is kind of weird. They just said they were going to do additional easing, and now and the other guy with the messy hair, what's his name, Johnson, over in England. He's talking about higher taxes, and of course we're talking about taking the corporate tax up to 28%. Probably only take it up to 25. That's still a 20% jump in corporate income tax, and they're really going after the offshore guys.
Right.
So, the winds of change are blowing. Higher taxes, higher inflation could be 2 reasons why the stock market, and the valuations, of course, could be a couple of reasons why the future. And then this Wells Fargo goes from 3,800 target up to 4,800 in a week. I mean, it sounds like somebody's getting panicky there.
Yeah. And they will taper tantrum, see where that goes, But fascinating time. I tell you, we are living in historic. It's always fascinating, but this is historic.
And then if you look at the monetary base, it's 9 times higher than it was 10 years ago, 2 times higher than it was a year ago.
Isn't that crazy?
They're well. I mean, that's why these people who are in the gold say, listen, I don't know what gold's going to do day to day, but when you increase the monetary base like that, it generally is not a bad thing for gold.
No.
So
and the numbers are staggering. What you just said there, I was reading those the other day. It's like, holy crap, it's like out of the park.
It may be a situation where it's triggered on an event, and then, it can go fast, But today they nailed the crypto. You want to look at GBTC and Ethereum, because Salvador went to a.
Look at that. Yeah. Down 7 on grayscale. Now, Salvador, what did they do? They did like a,
Oh, they're saying they're going to do. I mean,
right?
obviously, they have no currency over there, and the place is about as violent as Chicago. So the bond Chicago on steroids, and so they're going to a currency there, of Bitcoin, but that's not really the prototype of a nation that you're going to be able to follow. You know.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, they came out yesterday. They're going to do it, and tonight they're nailing this stuff. So
what was Ethereum?
ETHE. This shouldn't be as volatile. No, this isn't as bad as the other because it's not. This is more of a platform deal than anything else.
Right. That's interesting. But yeah, the cryptos, those whoever invented that, one guy or guys, I mean, those guys are geniuses. I mean, there's no doubt. And
well, yeah, you got to be a genius because you have to run computers 24 hours a day to come up with one coin.
Yeah. Do you read? I read somewhere it takes more electricity than some countries. I don't know.
Yeah. I think they said they would be the 30th largest country using electricity. And the key with that Tesla, the reason they stopped taking is Musk was saying, you guys are using coal and dirty energy, and I'm a clean energy guy. I can't take this currency until you get at least 50% or better into renewables, which, because China's backed away from it, Canada and the US are starting to meet that criterion. So the next thing on Bitcoin could be Tesla's taking it again.
Yeah. This guy MVIS, he buys a lot of Bitcoin. He's a big Bitcoin guy, and he's went down today with Bitcoin, but it's doing pretty well. Yeah.
Well, as we come to the top of the hour, John, you want to just reacquaint the people with your with your website and everything, so they can get this stuff. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, David, you just put in the tradinggods.net there as a place to start, and then easiest way to get a hold of us is send us an email if you're interested in the products we have, or if you just want to kind of get familiarized, sign up for that free ebook that'll put you on our mailing lists. And we do a daily mailing list. We got a great writer named Sam who does great stuff, and then we do weekly webinars for members and for non-members alike. So lots of different ways to learn. We're all about, as Jim is, teaching, learning, and helping you be successful, and that's what it's all about.
Sure. Well, it's great to be with you, John. Again, as far as Option Professor is concerned, you go to the website optionprofessor.com, and you can get information and also get on our email list so you can get our ideas on what's going on in the world, our opinions. Also, keep an eye out for us on CNBC and also on Facebook and YouTube, because we're going to be announcing different things in those areas. So if you see the ad and you want to put your email in on that, you can do that as well. And we're excited about that. So hopefully we'll be able to talk to more people and get more people to the webinars so they can enjoy these educational events that we're having. So optionprofessor.com is that one. Yep.
Well, you're a master, man. And I tell you what, this is like, you don't start out playing at Yankee Stadium, and I would encourage everybody to learn and educate yourself.
Yeah, that's the game. And that's the game of optionprofessor.com is it's time to educate yourself now. So get the details on how this stuff works and then go from there. David, always great to be here to help you out with the moderating. And John, thanks for showing up here on a long holiday weekend. Welcome back, everybody, from their vacations, whatever they were doing. We'll, of course, be having more of these events coming up. And David, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks, guys. Covered lots of good info today. So just a quick reminder for everyone, be sure to subscribe to Timing Research on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. You can also just go to TimingResearch.com to get access to the archive of today's show as soon as I can get it posted, as well as any of the past shows and events. So I just want to thank my guests again for today, John Nyaradi of TradingGods.net and the Option Professor of OptionProfessor.com. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Take care.